Hello there, Bunny here, and in this game we're going to be looking at the art of the turnaround, or how to take a seemingly unwinnable situation and reverse it. We're here in the Prinz Eugen, the Tier 10 KM heavy cruiser, and we're steaming up the eastern flank of this map here while our platoon mate Ress in the Admiral Hipper, the Tier 9 KM heavy cruiser, goes along the opposite flank. And we see right away that we don't have a whole lot of force on this side of the map. We've got a couple of DDs and CLs supporting us, which is nice to see, but it's pretty clear that we're going to have to be the major damage dealer on this flank if we're going to win. And right away we see a huge enemy force, multiple battleships as well as a heavy cruiser, possibly quite a bit more, and a CV, and we break off our advance there and accidentally run into the island as a result, unfortunately, and lose our scout as well. But even more unfortunately, we see that the Kitakami and the DD that went north actually did not break off their advance. They just continued rushing headlong into the enemy despite seeing such a large force. Even this Tier 1 DD behind me actually had the sense to turn around. I'm not quite sure what these two were thinking, but the inevitable happens. The Kitakami goes down without really contributing much of anything, and the DD soon follows. So here we are, we're back trying to secure at least a little bit of health on this island to obtain at least a little bit of line of sight, as well as to hopefully provide some redundancy for our flagship's powers. And that Congo up there, up in the north, takes the brunt of the enemy CV's dive bombing run there, and amazingly, just like the Kitakami and the DD before him, he continues to steam directly towards the enemy. I do not know what these people were thinking. This guy took huge amounts of damage, and it's as if he doesn't even see what's going on around him. He's completely surrounded now, and down he goes, before I can even get off my first salvo of the game. And we even get a little bit frustrated there, and in the team chat, we plead with our team to stop suiciding for the love of God. I don't know what those people were thinking. Maybe they lagged out or something. But in any case, this is now looking quite bad for us. The level 1 DD up there in the north is going to go down valiantly. And there he goes. Now it's just us versus this entire enemy force. And as we can see here, we are very much outnumbered and very much outgunned, and this is where the art of the turnaround begins. In this kind of situation, when you're so outnumbered and so outgunned, it's not even necessarily about getting out the damage or getting out the kills, but it's about making it out of the situation alive to contribute elsewhere in the game, and it's about slowing the enemy and bloodying them enough to basically prevent them from outflanking your team. In this situation, they're in an excellent position to be able to just kind of blow through this flank, come around the bottom side of my team, and basically trap them in a pincer movement and just absolutely destroy them. We want to prevent that as much as possible. So whether we get the kills or the damage or not, what we want to do is we want to get out of here alive and slow the enemy advance as long as possible. And fortunately, the enemy team actually makes a bit of a mistake here. This Mogami, the Tier 11 IJN CA, is the only one really pursuing me and this DD with any amount of conviction. The enemy team, the rest of the enemy team on this flank, seems to have diverted their attention to the airfield that we captured earlier, and that is actually a huge blunder on their part. Because the rest of them did not follow us, we are able to focus our attention solely on this Mogami and try to take him out of the game. We're already putting a lot of damage onto him, and you'll notice we're also swapping back and forth between HE and AA ammo on our secondaries. It's very important to get good at multitasking like that, take out that scout there, and prevent the enemy from getting sight on you. That's probably the most important thing about these types of situations, is you want to keep the enemy blind. That's what's going to keep you alive and enable you to keep granting a little bit of ground and keep bloodying them for every inch that they take. And here we see it's paying off immensely. We're about to take out this Mogami. He's on extremely low health. One more salvo here ought to do it. And there he goes. So we just took out a full Tier 11 CA without losing a single point of health in return, despite the fact that we were extremely outnumbered to begin with. Had the enemy pursued me with their full force, there's not a doubt in the world that they would have absolutely overrun me in an instant. But that was a big mistake on their part. And now, as a result, the momentum seems to be changing. We've got a whole lot of real estate now to work with in terms of maneuvering and just having a lot of ocean to play around with. and we're able to push the advance now and pursue these DDs and this enemy Nagato, the Tier 9 IJNBB. Put a salvo out on him here, and it looks like, yeah, he appears to be armored, so we switch to AP for our second salvo. Get that off. And we land quite a number of shells there, stripping him of his armor in all likelihood, so we switch back to HE. And meanwhile, our teammate Rest there is up in the north. He's fighting for his life, but he is unfortunately going to go down in a moment. We run aground on the center island, and because we were a little bit greedy there, we tried to get off one more salvo before we had to turn, and unfortunately that meant we turned a little bit too late. And Rest goes down, but it doesn't matter, because at this point in the game, we have the momentum, and the enemy is hurting very badly. This Nagato is on very low health. We're going to chase him down and try to secure that kill. Get off a salvo there as our scout is returning, and oh my, a cheeky minefield. Now that's something you don't see too often. Looks like the enemy Brooklyn there that's running away is probably the one who laid that down. I don't know who else would have done it. So we're trying to, again, get the kill shot on this Nagato, land a few shells, but it's not quite enough. Fortunately, the friendly CV is taking care of that, but the enemy CV gets off a cheeky torp run on us, taking out half of our health, but losing most of his planes in the process. Good play from him there, but unfortunately it's not going to matter, especially since we find him sitting right here in front of us. And time to take our revenge on him. Get off a nice salvo there, and we're making use of both our primary and secondary guns when taking him out. We want to maximize our DPS against him so that we can kill him before he gets out a second squad, and down he goes. And now it's pretty much over for the enemy team. They've got 2 ships left, and they're trapped within a pincer movement, ironically enough. This Brooklyn is about to go down. Just a couple more shells will do it. And there he goes. There's only 1 ship left, and like I said, he's completely pincered between our northern and southern forces now. So what that means is basically we were in a position to be completely outmaneuvered and pincered by the enemy team at the beginning of this game. And in the end, we ended up pincering them, and you can see just the devastating effect it can have. This was a pretty rapid game, and it's already over. Look at that. So what did we do there, and what can you do in these types of situations to improve your chances of surviving and snatching victory from the jaws of defeat? Well, first off, number 1, do not throw your life away. Do not be like that Kongo, that Kitakami, and that DD who just threw caution to the wind, were not at all paying attention to their surroundings, and just sailed right on into the enemy until they were encircled and doomed. Number 2, prioritize your flak as much as possible. Even if you've got the entire enemy team on your ass with no support, they can't do anything to you if they can't see you. And what you want to do is you want to ensure that you can get out of those nasty situations and survive to fight elsewhere in the battle like we did just here. And lastly, what you want to do, as we've seen in previous videos, as much as possible, focus on one enemy at a time and remove the most guns possible. So keep these in mind when you face the unbeatable odds such as in this video. Let me know what you'd like to see next, and stay tuned for more. Thanks.